What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Carlos Prates is already eyeing the top of the welterweight division after his stunning knockout win over former champion Leon Edwards at MSG, a victory that put him firmly on the map as one of the most dangerous contenders at 170. After that finish, he immediately called for a shot at the UFC welterweight title, hoping to face Islam Makhachev next. But Prates also knows how crowded the road to the belt can get, especially when big names like Kamaru Usman are still in the mix. If he has to take one more fight before a title shot, Prates already has his ideal opponent picked, and he made it clear during an interview with MMA Fighting while attending a Corinthians versus Botafogo match in Brazil. The fighter he wants is JDM. For him, it's the perfect matchup to secure his position as the next title challenger. He said that if Usman ends up getting the title shot first, then Prates expects to fight again, and JDM is the name at the top of his list. Usman has just one win since 2021, with his most recent victory coming over Joaquin Buckley after back-to-back losses to Khamzat and Edwards twice. Meanwhile, Makhachev recently became champion with a dominant win over JDM, which makes Prates even more motivated to face him eventually. Prates still believes he could be fighting for UFC gold as early as 2026, but he understands how many moving parts go into matchmaking decisions. He pointed out that Makhachev and Usman share the same management. Usman is already considered one of the greatest in welterweight history, and the UFC will do whatever aligns best with their plans. Still, he's confident that if he doesn't get the next title shot, he'll win one more fight and go straight to the belt afterward. When asked how he sees Makhachev versus Usman playing out, Prates said it won't be an easy fight, but added that he doesn't think Usman wins. Either way, he expects to be fighting for the 170-pound title next year. He even mentioned April in Las Vegas as the ideal date for a matchup with JDM, saying that beating him would undeniably secure a title shot. Prates is now 6-1 in the UFC, all wins coming by knockout, and he graded his performance against Edwards a 9 out of 10. His mom, Regina, wasn't thrilled though. She didn't like seeing Edwards take his back, and when he texted her after the fight to thank her, she replied, "Cool, thanks. But I didn't like him taking your back, no." And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Matt Brown has stepped in to defend Joshua Van after the young flyweight faced criticism for his celebration at UFC 323. Van became UFC flyweight champion when Alexander Pantoja suffered a gruesome arm injury just 26 seconds into the fight. As soon as the bout ended, Van celebrated with the belt wrapped around his waist, but many fans and fighters felt he was celebrating too proudly without actually defeating Pantoja in a real contest. Van didn't seem bothered by the backlash, and according to Brown, it's easy to understand why he reacted the way he did. Brown explained on The Fighter vs. the Writer that Van has spent his entire life chasing one goal, becoming UFC champion. He said that after working for years towards something so difficult, the moment the belt goes around your waist is overwhelming, no matter how the win comes. Brown compared it to fighters who celebrate knockouts even when opponents are severely hurt. He said the emotions in a moment like that are explosive. The adrenaline is sky high, and the environment inside an arena with thousands of fans can push anyone to celebrate. Still, he admitted that he personally would not have celebrated the same way after an injury TKO. Brown said he believes Van isn't as happy as he would have been had he beaten Pantoja clean, but in the heat of the moment, it's natural to let emotions take over. After the fight, Van made it clear he hoped Pantoja wasn't seriously injured and that they could run it back in the near future. Brown thinks that's one of the unfortunate parts of the situation. Van is the champion, yet most people won't see him as the true best flyweight in the world until he defends the belt properly. Brown compared the moment to when Anderson Silva broke his leg against Chris Weidman, and Weidman celebrated. He noted that, while celebrating is understandable, claiming you intentionally caused the injury, like Weidman once suggested, can rub people the wrong way. But in both cases, the fighter reached the top of the mountain, and that achievement alone is something worth celebrating. At this point, there's no clear timeline for Pantoja's return as he waits for the full diagnosis of his injury. Until then, Van will move forward as champion, and defending the title is what will truly cement his legitimacy. Brown said that if it were him, he'd probably stay stoic, recognizing he hadn't beaten the best guy outright. But history only records winners, not circumstances. And years from now, people will simply see Van listed as the champion, a According to Brown, Van should acknowledge he didn't earn the belt in the ideal way, but still embrace the fact that he is the champion. Moving on to another news. Merab's coach John Wood has finally addressed the criticism he's been getting for what he told Merab between rounds during the fight against Pereira. Fans and analysts slammed him when he insisted Merab was winning, even though it was clear on the scorecards that he was falling behind. In a recent interview with Ariel Helwani, Wood openly admitted that he made a mistake. At the time, he genuinely believed Merab had secured the early rounds. But after rewatching the fight, he understands why so many people felt his advice may have affected how Merab approached the later rounds. Former champ Sean O'Malley also gave his take on the situation, and he didn't hold back. He said he doesn't think the UFC will rebook Merab versus Petter again, arguing that Jan clearly dominated the fight. For Sean, the timing couldn't be better. His path to reclaiming UFC gold depends heavily on Merab not being champion. After all, Cien already holds a win over the current champ Petr Yan, even though the fight was razor close, and plenty of fans believed Yan edged it out. With Merab coming in with a massive winning streak, nearly matching Anderson Silva's legendary run, the UFC is expected to book an immediate rematch between Yan and Merab as soon as 2026 rolls around. Looking further down the line, Umar Nurmagomedov is set to face Deiveson Figueiredo for the next title shot once Yan and Merab settle their rematch. That matchup is already generating serious buzz. Umar is considered one of the cleanest, most composed fighters in the entire division, capable of blending sharp striking with elite grappling in a way that few can match. Reflecting on his corner advice, Wood explained that in the moment he thought Merab was the busier fighter, pressing forward and controlling the pace. But after reviewing the tape, he acknowledged that Petr had the bigger moments. Jan was landing the harder shots, getting the bigger reactions, and doing the visible damage. Blood, he said, often influences how things look in a fight, and in real time it's hard to judge how that will factor into the scoring. Wood admitted that many people believed his call was wrong, and said that if he made a mistake, he has to own it and make sure it doesn't happen again. He emphasized that sometimes the heat of the moment creates a different perspective for corners, and the optics of a fight play a massive role in how judges and fans see the action. Moving on to another news, Khamzat is facing major backlash online after his latest ESPN interview, where he went after Alex Pereira and called him scared, claiming Poatan is running away from a potential fight. The comments immediately set social media on fire, especially because Alex is actively chasing a far more dangerous matchup, a heavyweight showdown with John Jones. Fans were quick to point out that if Pereira is pushing for a fight with one of the greatest fighters in UFC history at a higher weight class, the idea that he's avoiding Khamzat simply doesn't add up. Online reactions mocked Khamzat's confidence, calling the call-out out of touch and overly self-assured. Meanwhile, Alex has made his plans very clear. He isn't interested in defending his belt against Carlos Ulberg, despite ongoing discussions around the division. Instead, his sights are locked on the biggest challenges possible, either John Jones or the winner of Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. His ambitions have shifted beyond just maintaining a title. He's looking to build one of the most aggressive multi-division climbs in UFC history. This surge in ambition follows his dominant UFC 320 victory, where he avenged his previous loss to Magomed Ankalaev with brutal, fight-ending ground-and-pound elbows that reminded fans exactly why he's one of the most dangerous finishers in the sport. In a recent Instagram update, Alex shared that he still hasn't stepped back onto the training mats since UFC 320, hinting at a lingering foot injury that he sustained during that bout. He reassured fans that the recovery is on track, and he's targeting an early 2026 return, keeping anticipation high for what could be a seismic moment in his career. If things go the way he plans, we might witness an unprecedented run through divisions that only a handful of fighters in history have even attempted. During the ESPN interview, Khamzat doubled down on his stance, insisting that Pereira knows exactly why the fight hasn't been made. He claimed the UFC doesn't want to book the matchup and argued that Alex's talk about being the bigger star is nonsense. According to Khamzat, if he simply says hi on his Instagram story, it generates more views than Pereira's actual fights. He dismissed the idea of Alex being more famous, stating that the numbers speak for themselves. At the same time, he tried to maintain a level of respect, acknowledging Pereira's elite striking, knockout power, and reputation as one of the best stand-up fighters in the sport. Still, Khamzat insisted that Alex isn't on his level and believes that if 99% of fans were asked who would win, they'd pick him. Moving on to another news. Ilya has been everywhere this week, all because of his rapidly escalating back and forth with Petr Yan. Things heated up after Yan spoke to the Russian outlet Golos OV MMA following his recent win, and his comments were far harsher toward Merab than anything he said in English interviews. He outright stated that he broke Merab, which instantly blew up online and made its way straight to Ilya. Their tension isn't new, but this latest jab reignited everything. Ilya and Petr actually have history that goes all the way back to 2018. At that time, Ilya, who was only 21, was set to make his UFC debut against Yan. The matchup fell apart, and Yan ended up fighting Jinsu Sun instead, but the friction between them never disappeared. Over the years, Ilya has clashed with countless fighters, from Bilal Muhammad to Cody Garbrandt, earning a reputation for being ready to fire shots at nearly anyone on the roster. So, when Yan's comments surfaced, Ilya jumped on Instagram Live to send a warning, telling Yan that he hasn't forgotten their unfinished business. That's when Dana White stepped in. Reporters asked him about the Ilya-Yan drama, and Dana immediately brushed the whole thing off. He went off on people blowing the situation out of proportion, reminding everyone that this is the fight business, not a tea party. According to Dana, fighters talk trash every single week, and emotions will always run high in a sport built on competition and combat. He said rivalries flare up all the time, and none of this is unusual. In his eyes, people who are shocked by fighters talking tough simply don't understand what the UFC is. Dana also pointed out that Ilya wasn't even involved in Yan's fight, but that doesn't matter. This is sports. Athletes talk in the NBA, in the NFL, in baseball, and everywhere else. Trash talk is part of the game, and that's something that will never change. He made it clear that the UFC is never going to police what fighters say to each other, and nobody is going to step in to tell these athletes what they can or cannot say. Dana emphasized that the intensity, the back and forth, and the verbal jabs are part of what makes the sport compelling. Despite Dana brushing it off, fans are fully locked in. Ilya's warning, Yan's comments, and their long-standing tension have all added fuel to a storyline that has been simmering for years. Whether or not the UFC ever books the fight, the rivalry has once again become one of the most talked about dramas in the sport, and both fighters seem more than ready to keep the flames burning. Moving on to another news, President Donald Trump just dropped a massive announcement during the Kennedy Center Honors Gala, and the MMA world is buzzing. He revealed that the UFC card planned for the White House celebration will feature 8 or 9 championship fights, which is more than double the UFC's all-time record of 3 title bouts on a single event. Trump made it clear that this event isn't just another fight night. It's being built around the 250th birthday of the United States, mixing patriotism with high-stakes MMA action in a way the sport has never seen before. He talked about a special pre-event dinner involving high-ranking government officials, international VIPs, and major names from the combat sports world. All of them will be sitting cage-side with Trump and Dana White. Originally, Trump floated the idea of having 25,000 fans in attendance, but due to strict security protocols, that number has been scaled down. Still, with the broadcast rights shifting to Paramount in 2026, many are already predicting this could become the most watched UFC event of all time. Social media exploded within minutes of the announcement. Fans are already debating dream matchups, championship possibilities, and how the UFC could pull off something of this magnitude. Clips of Trump's comments are spreading fast on Twitter, where people are calling this potentially the most insane card in UFC history. The hype is unreal, and the reactions are growing by the minute. But on the flip side, major MMA outlets like MMA Junkie are urging fans to temper expectations. They've reported that while the card will include big names, it is unlikely that every champion on the roster will be fighting. According to their recent coverage, the UFC is planning something huge, but not quite the stacked, tough, all-championship lineup that Trump described. This has created a split reaction, with some fans believing the card will be historic, while others think Trump may have exaggerated the scale a bit. During his speech, Trump doubled down on the details. He said the event will take place on June 14th next year, and that Dana White is building an arena specifically for the card. He claimed the arena will seat 5,000 to 6,000 people right in front of the White House entrance, with an additional 100,000 fans watching from the back lawn on massive screens. He even mentioned that Dana is holding back certain fights for 6 months so they can be saved for this historic event. Trump called it an exciting night in the making, saying countless people are already asking him for UFC tickets, adding even more fuel to the anticipation surrounding what might be one of the biggest nights in combat sports history.